Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Sketchy Ideas, the live point counterpoint video podcast where we illustrate, debate things surrounding business, leadership, personal development, growth, maybe a little sports, some movies, including the fact that the Bucks won last night. So if you're an NBA fan, and our hometown Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA Finals last night, so congrats to the Bucks and Giannis for winning that MVP. But long story short, we're here to help you dive into those ideas that you just found on the internet before you start implementing them in your life, your business, wherever you're looking to implement them. Hi, I am Brad James.
And I am Michael Rampolla.
And we are your hosts. And today, Michael is actually going to walk us through his reflection process. If you were with us last week, he talked about what he was doing at summer camp to gain feedback. And today he's going to talk a little bit about the reflection post-event. But before we do that, a word from our sponsors. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Sketchy Ideas is powered by Spirity. As a business leader, you are responsible for the success of your organization at the end of the day. And Spirity is the one application-driven strategic business transformation system that helps you and your team align on culture, on strategy, and on execution so everybody is doing the right things at the right times on a regular basis. What's the result of all of that effort? You get an optimized business that helps drive better organizational behavior, more consistent achievement, and overall exceeding your objectives, i.e. better results. You're looking for that kind of thing too? Reach out to Spirity. We're here to help you. Connect with us at spirity.com to transform your business for growth. Back to Brad.
And often, transformation and growth starts with marketing and sales. That's why Michael and I work well together. So my friends over at Cream City Marketing help us out a lot with that. So if you are one of those people who thinks you have to do everything, you're wrong. Everybody needs a little help, even if you're the most organized individual. That includes if you're trying to get whatever marketing done and you need some help or you need some guidance or you have no clue what to do, do me a favor. Hit up my friend Aaron over at Cream City Marketing at aaron@creamcitymarketing.com to let Cream City Marketing take care of the stress of all the marketing so you can do the rest in your business. All right. That's aaron@creamcitymarketing.com. And stay tuned for the end of today's show. We're going to give you a little sneak peek on what Michael and I have been cooking up that we're planning on doing for all of you lovely viewers who've been with us for a while. So exciting. With that said, hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Over to you. What are we talking about? Tell us about what reflection means, why that's important. What's the story behind it, right? Like,
yes, I like that. Yeah. So reflection, right, is the looking back on what happened, and not just for the purposes of nostalgia, but we're specifically talking about reflection as a key and core process for continuous improvement. Is it good to feel good about the things you did? Absolutely. And sometimes it's okay to, not feel so good about the things you did because there's opportunities to learn. But in this case, we're talking about reflection as a methodology, a framework, if you will, for taking the lessons from the past and applying them forward. And this is all in the context, if you remember last week, I showed you my wall full of pint-sized feedback, all those Post-it notes in progress. Little feedback. Pint-sized feedback, work in progress. That wall got full by the end of the week, which is exciting for me because that is all that much more I can reflect on. And it's not just my reflections. So if you're working on a project and you're not the only one working on it, if it's a project, by definition, you're not, I encourage you to get the insights from everybody on the effort because you're going to get that much more insight, which gives you that much more data. We love our data to work from and get the insights from. You'll see more patterns, so more to leverage, more to dig into. And then it's not just your thoughts because people beside you have good thoughts too, I promise. They do. They really do. I
don't know. You've never told me that. You've never said my ideas are good. And Brian says I only do sometimes. So I see how it is, guys. All right. That's fine.
So the next point to talk about, so the question is, so why are we bothering? So there's the why. The why are we bothering with reflection is because we want to get better. And I guess that's the point. We said this, I think, on a couple other topics. If you don't want to get better, don't bother with this. If you
How
don't
did
want
you
to continue
determine,
to
Michael,
about
that
it,
reflection was important for what you were doing?
the reason reflection is important is because it supports an overall idea that we have. So um, the leadership camp that I work on, there's actually 6 levels, 3 junior high programs, 3 senior high programs. And because we love our acronyms, just like everybody else, leader, LEADER, is the acronym that goes with our 6 levels. I'm level 4, I get the D. In our method, in our framework, D stands for develop. I think I just got lucky because develop is actually the entire, a very nice, simple way to summarize how we approach the program that we do as the first level of senior high, leadership development programming here. What that means is we are always trying to get better. We're always trying to develop. We're trying to develop the students that are there. I'm trying to develop the staff that is there, and I'm actively trying to develop the curriculum or the content or the design in a way that makes all of those other things go better. So we're like meta developing the development process. So how am I going to do that if I don't validate what worked and focus on improving the things that didn't? Hence the value of reflection.
So what were you doing? Like, how did you figure out that reflection though was important for you?
For me personally, it was important for me because I got tired of making the same mistakes. I got tired of, I just can't quite figure that out. I keep doing it the same way and it's not having any, significant changes or improvements. And I guess the other thing was I learned, and this one's a simple one, but I learned that if I don't track it in the moment, I'm not going to remember it for the next application. And in this example, this is a once a year effort, this specific program. And so, 9 months after the fact, maybe if I'm being proactive, is when I pick it up again to make the improvements. A lot of time has passed and my memory fades at least at the, half-life rate of carbon, if not faster. So therefore I need to be ready with the learnings from the in the moment learnings to apply them to that future long distance state between when I last thought about it. So I leave myself a lot of notes, basically. I always have a running note sidebar to all of this. I always have a running sidebar note that is called next time. And when I'm getting ready for next time, I go back to my next time note and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that. I'm so glad my past self left my future self a note. I feel like a Bill and Ted's moment, right? Where they're sending themselves messages to get out of get out of the police station, right? Maybe we left ourselves a note. Oh my gosh, we did. Right? Space-time continuum, don't worry about that part. But the point is, if I don't leave myself those notes, then I look back at my past self and I go, dude, why weren't you looking out for me? Right? And I do try to look out for myself whenever I can. Somebody has to. I'm kidding. I have plenty of people look out for me. If not, I probably wouldn't be here right now. So I would say that's why. I got tired of making the same mistakes. And I learned not to try to rely on A, my own memory, or B, only my own insights.
Yep.
There's the big why, I would say.
All right. So now that we know why this is important, we know how you got there. Walk us through the general idea of this whole thing, if you could.
Absolutely. Yeah. So do a quick review on pint size. So pint size feedback, if you remember, had the 4 categories. We've got pluses, things that are going well, issues, things that are not going well or could be better. The N stands for new, which is ideas, and then thinking, which is where the questions come in. What would happen if we did it differently, or I don't yet know about this idea? So there's PINT, pint. I've got that framework established with the people who are giving me feedback, and I let them know this. The most important thing they can do when they give me feedback on my post-its is tag it, if you will, with the type. Because here's what I'll see. Sometimes I'll just see the name of the activity, period. That's it, just the name of the activity, right? First impressions was a thing that we did. Okay, did you like it? Did you not like it? Plus or issue? Or did you have an idea for it? That's literally not, it's almost value-less feedback because it doesn't tell me anything. All they have to do is say plus or minus. They say like that was good. At least I know it was good or it was bad and it needs revisiting. So feedback needs to have a value to it. And that's why we use this simple framework for that. Once I have all of that, and mine is already categorized by day. So if I think about my week of this program, or you might think about your program in terms of modules or phases or stages, that kind of goes across the top, right? So I've got day 1, day 2, day 3, etc. kind of is my general framework. And the feedback already came in those categories. Right. Now, if I'm going to further break that down, I want to start to look into what was my objective. All right.
Right.
What was my objective for the overall effort? So that's at the daily level, but I've got a bigger picture, kind of my overall idea. What was the end I was driving towards? And I know my objective for the whole program, the program level objective, but I also know that there are other kind of sub-objectives. So if you've got a program, a process, an effort, an initiative, an experience, any of those things, it should have a goal, an outcome, a designed, right, endpoint. Having that in mind will help you better evaluate the feedback as to whether or not you got there. So I think it's important.
Can you say that one more time? Can you say that one more time?
Your effort, project plan, project, etc. Your effort should have a goal. It should be trying to accomplish something. If you have that goal defined ahead of time and ideally documented, you should be using that as an important filter to evaluate whether or not you got there. And when you look back at your feedback, when you reflect, did I or did I not accomplish my goal? That's step one. How did I do that well, or where did I struggle to get there? That's going to help you find the value within all of this myriad feedback you're going to collect along the way.
So are you saying feedback is more valuable if you have a goal in mind for what you're trying to do with said project, event, campaign, activity? Just asking for a friend.
Yeah.
So friends,
I'm going to go ahead. Yep.
Friends, understand almost everything we've talked about in the last 2 to 3 months has been focused around, hey, you have to have some sort of target you're shooting for in order to make a lot of these tactical things work. Now, if you don't know what that is, remember, we did go over the hedgehog concept way back when. And it's important to understand where that fits, all right? But if you're doing things, for example, how many years have you been running this event now? Again, just remind everybody.
For myself, I've been in charge of it since 2015.
Okay, so 6 years, all right?
Yep.
The same thing for all of the events that I know I run is that in those events, we have targets that we're trying to hit every single year, or trying to make sure that we get everything up to speed and improve every single year, either in participation, sponsorships, whatever it happens to be, right?
Right.
If you don't have some of those things set in place, the feedback you get can take you completely off of the path that you're trying to head on because you just do not have a clear enough target for what you're shooting for.
Yep.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but what you're saying is that if you didn't have that, this feedback may or may not be useful to you and could just be an exercise in futility.
I agree. I would say it's almost less than useful because it's just going to be confusing. There's no organizing principle. It doesn't tell me anything. And I was just, in our coaching practice, right, we say the number one thing that you need is a plan. The number two thing you need to do is evaluate the plan to make it better, because it's hard to evaluate the outcomes if I didn't have a goal or a plan going into it. I don't know if I did or didn't do what I set out to do if I don't know what I set out to do. If I don't know where I'm going, how do I know if I've gotten there? So that's the idea. So this program has objectives, it has goals. So the overall program has goals. Every day I have some objectives, and then I even have, activities by day, right? Activities down the side here. And there's a way that I want to organize. Each of those things has a role and a goal to play. And I want to see if it did its job.
All right. So on a reflection basis, you've gathered this feedback. You know you had a goal. What does the reflection process look like for you, both from a tactical standpoint as well as from you and I talked about a mental or emotional standpoint too?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do the practical one first. So from a practical standpoint, I'm looking for trends. Now let me stay high level to help move through the framework here. I want to look at, for each day, those are my big buckets of time, my big modules of my workshop. Each day has a theme. And I want to see what's the theme of the feedback for that module. And if I'm just at a glance here, all right, I'm going to see, okay, day one, if I reorganize this stuff, I'm going to see day one, I've got 3-to-1 positives and negatives. So day one generally did its job because in this random example I'm building here, more positive than negative, and no new ideas and no questions. So that means day one is designed to be a straightforward approach. It means it probably did its job without generating a bunch of new ideas or new energy. And overall, we're on the positive. Good start. Day two, let's categorize day two. What do I got here? Well, it seems to me that day two is overall positive, and I got a lot of new ideas out of day two. Day two is inspirational in some form or other. And that's how day two should be. I built a foundation. Now I'm sparking new ideas and new thinking. Great. So on the overall, I'm on a good trend here. If I reorganize day three and I'm looking for trends on day three, I've got a much more mixed bag here on day three. But what I'm seeing, if anything, is I'm seeing more questions, which is a good way to end a day three because it means there's a forward look. There's a questions, or I've got people thinking about new ideas. Now I would want to dig in specifically in this corner. I'd want to dig in and find out what's the theme across these questions, right? I want to dig in here and find out what's the theme among these new thinkings and what's overall good. And what are the couple areas I want to address? And I've got a couple, groups of negatives here. So I would want to dig in there and there for improvement. And I'd probably leverage what's working and the ideas and the questions that were sparked to address those areas. That's on the overall. To give me a general sense of, am I on track? Did I generally match what I would want the flow to be? Once I've done that, then I dig into the detail, and I'm going to start looking by activity. What's my feedback? Because if these negatives are on a certain activity, I can switch out that activity for a different one that's going to meet the same goal, because I have a goal for each little piece of the effort. Folks, what I'm really I want you to also see, and I learned this practice from somebody else. There's an idea called experience design, shorthand XD, experience design. No, come on, black marker, wake up. There you go. And what experience design says is you can design an experience to create an emotional feeling or create a certain feeling in the people who are participating. And if you know what you want that to be, you can design the elements of your experience to make that happen. Right? I've heard this called the car conversation. Right? So you leave the party, everybody says great things, everything's great. Then you get in the car with your wingman or a spouse or significant other. Whatever you say right in that moment, when you actually leave the event, and you're like, that's the moment I'm targeting. I'm targeting the first in the car moment, or for these kids, I'm targeting when mom and dad picks them up and they've gotten all their stuff in the car and they're starting to drive home, and mom or dad says, so how was it? That's the moment I'm targeting with every element building up to it. My goal is for them to say, I want to do it again. Right? I'm not even saying I'm going high. I want to say it was great. And I want to say it was so good that they want to come back and do it again next year at the next level after me. That's the moment I'm targeting. And all of this feedback with that goal in mind, I'm looking at every element in this feedback to see, does it take me closer or farther away from that desired outcome? Because I can look at things like I'm doing a camp, right? I'm looking at the meals. I'm looking at the wake up time. I'm looking at every little tiny element of the experience to say, did I or did I not make them want to come back? And if you're a high school kid, listen, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner matter, right? Like whether or not I had a good meal, granted, there's good brain science behind why you should have a good meal also, but that stuff matters. And I pay attention to every piece of feedback because I know I have a chance to design the experience in a way to get to the ultimate desired outcome. And for everything you're doing in your business, service or product or program or initiative, you have an opportunity to take control of the design elements too, if you have that goal in mind and are gathering feedback at every little touch point along the way.
The end goal is a positive little piece when they get in the car. So now in terms of building out and taking that framework, so we're looking for trends. Right. We're tying those trends to how they impacted the end goal. And now we are taking that reflection space on our own and doing what with that?
Taking that reflection space, and then I have to prioritize, because I can't, as one of my favorite managers always said, you can't boil the ocean. So I can't redesign the entire program every year, and it's probably not a good idea to do that anyway, especially if I find certain things are working, right? So I'm going to go for the hot spots, which is why. So I usually, whenever I look at feedback, I call it energy. Where's the energy? If an activity that we did had zero feedback on it, there's not a lot of energy there. Positive, negative, whatever. if there's feedback on an element, there's energy there that I can use one way or another. If something went by and nobody even noticed that it happened, I might actually look at that as well. There's feedback in the lack of feedback as well. Maybe it's a good thing because I don't want them to notice it. But if there's no energy on it whatsoever, I also look at that. And that helps me prioritize my improvement process, right? Throw in our 80-20 rule here. I need to find the few things that if I change them are going to have the biggest impact on the overall positive outcome. And this feedback, when I boil it down to the micro scale, helps me do that, and then helps me put a plan in place to say, okay, let me evaluate those components and see how I can help them better point to my end goal.
Okay. So now we've gotten all this practical stuff. You shared how after these events, and you and I talked about it, there's kind of always a lull or a recovery phase mentally and emotionally that you go through.
Yeah, for sure. There is. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, Brad, I know you've done some big, major scale events that you pour your time and your energy and your heart and soul into. And a couple of things can happen when you're done. It can either be just like I would say letdown, but it can kind of feel like there's that after. And if in that moment of after you don't have, what do I want to say? I'd say even a plan in place. If you don't have a plan in place in the after to capture these ideas when they're still fresh, you're going to miss out on. And so me capturing in the moment, mitigates against that proactively, but I do take some time to kind of wind down. I take some time to wind down and just kind of sit with how I feel about it and kind of let because always end on a high, right? Simultaneous high, it was great, the low that it's over. And if I just let that be the thing, that I'm still conflicted, right? So I got a little time pass and I try to experience my own emotions of it and say, do I feel like I did what I came here to do? And then I also have to look at the more objective reality of everybody else's input and feedback on it. Because sometimes I'll feel like I completely dropped the ball, or I'll get fixated on some little element over here. And on my wall, it'll be 3 by 3 inches, right? It'll be this much impact, but I feel like it's like, an entire sheet of poster board, right? But in reality, it's like, okay, this is all the impact at. And that helps me mitigate this relative objectivity helps me mitigate my emotional reactions, the thing I might have fixated on for better or for worse. Or I might not have known it went as well as it did, or I might have known that it flopped as much as it did because I wasn't in the trenches, in the rooms, part of the experiences when they happened. I've always got a little bit separated view. As an organizer, you almost always have a level of abstraction, which sometimes helps, but doesn't necessarily give you the level of insight that you need, having been a part of the, part of the grind of the effort.
So if I'm in that space and I know that I still have to deal with the practical reflection, right, as well as the emotional recovery, when are you taking inventory of all this feedback to then actually put it into action? I know you said there's 9 months in between, but for people who are running events maybe once a month, right, maybe once every 6 months, whatever the time period is, do you let your brain go through the recovery and then look at it, or do you hit it right away on the ground running while you're maybe on that downslope to make sure that you're collecting all those thoughts right away?
So I'm doing
to build out the action plan.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So what I want to capture, so this feedback from everybody else is captured in real time. I need to do the same thing for myself. Like I need to be adding to this and not just letting everybody else do it. And in that end moment, when it's concluded and closed and I've got the closure, that's when I'm going to do an emotional reflection. Try to keep the same format, right? Just keep it simple. Looking at the overall, how do I feel I did overall, capture that in the moment. And then I do kind of put it on the wall and let it sit and archive it until I can kind of get through my recovery phase and come back fresh. And then I really try to feel like it wasn't me. I try to take a step back and say, this is a thing that happened. And my feedback is among the feedback, but it's the overall. And then I can do this parsing out and find the trends and be more objective with it. But I need to get a certain level of distance from it to bring the objectivity. And again, that's just psychology, right? That's just the psychology of letting our brains recover and gain distance, both physical and emotional and mental and chronological, to come back at it fresh and more objective. So give yourself enough time, but not too much time, because you do still want to then have the momentum of, I want to make this better. If you're running something once a month, again, then it'll be much easier for you to parse down. What's the small thing I'm going to iterate on this month? And this year, with this, I iterate probably 1 or 2 things a year. Not because I don't want to make it all better, but just because I know that if I try to take on more than that, I'm introducing too many variables to see what's made better or not.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, all right. So we've gone through this whole thing. How has this helped you, this process, implementing this process in terms of hitting your goals the next time around, measurably?
Yeah, measurably. I mean, I try to keep things simple when I'm, doing surveys and those kinds of things. Measurably, I mean, I use Net Promoter Score because I think it's super simple, right? How likely are you to recommend this to somebody else? Which is a good measurement of whether or not you want to do it again, is whether or not you would encourage somebody else to do it, right? And I have seen a market improvement. I would say we've probably gone up 5 to 10 percentage points on that in the 2 or 3, 4 iterations where I've specifically targeted this kind of feedback gathering and an application. And from a Net Promoter Score standpoint, that's a significant uptick, because that's that many more people who are hopefully encouraging other people to join us next time. That grows our referral base and our overall participation rate. The other thing that I've seen is if a thing I put attention on doesn't show up on the negative side again, then I know I'm winning. And I think on the whole, maybe just one thing that I've put time and attention on making better, I think only one thing has come back as didn't get better or might have gotten worse. In all the other cases, it's at least enough. It's at least gotten from negative to neutral. It's not from neutral to positive. And so, but the negative one is still good because I still know, like, the way, by thinking about it modularly, I can see that thing is still not doing what it's supposed to do, and how can I improve it? And that has helped me immensely by separating out and seeing this thing as a subset of components instead of the overall thing. If the overall thing I just took at the score the first time out, I would never do this, but I might think, wow, this thing isn't doing its job, right? Because on the overall, we're not doing great. But if I can then break it down into the elements and I can see which things are working, you can multiply those. And which things are not working, you can adjust those. Because whatever's working for you, right, do it more often. Whatever's not working for you, adjust that. But it's important to know where those differences are at the less than top level.
All right.
There you go.
We're out of time, man. You cranked through that. That's a lot. That's a lot in less than 25 minutes.
Well, let's see. Are we getting anything? Is Brian playing anything? We want sleep. Yeah, ain't that accurate? Actually, I'm gonna grab that because it's a really simple example that I can actually just kind of prove out, right? So Brian joked we want sleep. I looked back at the feedback from the last time we did this workshop this week long, and the 2 things I saw were students wanted more sleep and they wanted more outside time. And those are technically like not in my design, right? But I took the more sleep thing really seriously, and because as a program we were operating in this semi post-COVID space where we are doing this now with extra cognitive load and extra emotional load. So I said, I need everybody to get more sleep so they have more energy. So I literally took stuff out and I got us another hour and a half of sleep every day, which is kind of impressive on the overall, right? And another hour and a half of non-program time where you're sleeping a little bit, you're going to bed a little bit earlier. What it took for me was being really disciplined about saying sleep is a priority. Not only do I know it from science, but literally my participants asked for it. So then I need to say, is this component more or less important than sleep? Is this component more or less important than focus? Is this component more or less important than them bringing their best and most energetic selves to this activity? And whenever the answer was no, I was able to cut it out and I got 90 minutes a day back. And I believe we had an overall better effort. I think I'm going to try to continue that and just really hone in on the fact that if we work them less hard, they'll be more engaged for the time we do have them and get more out of it that they can take back. So we literally get down to that level of saying, it's not just switch out what's there. You might need to evaluate elements of your design that are preventing your design from accomplishing its goals. And literally things like sleep and meals and outdoor time, though they don't seem like they're core to the program, are pretty important to the overall experience because I'm thinking experience design and not just content and curriculum design.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bonus lesson.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as somebody who values their sleep, I'm sure that does make sense to you. And as somebody who's lacking on sleep, I'm sure that also makes good sense to you.
Lack sleep all the time. Understood.
Right. So forth.
Hey, friends. So Michael just walked through his reflection process using his pint-sized feedback from last episode and how he reflects on it the week afterwards in order to put it into action plan. So hopefully this was helpful for you if you were watching. If it was, do me a favor. Share this with a friend, screen capture the podcast, send us your comments, tag us in it, whatever you can do to help us get this out there, because we do know that when we implement this with a number of our clients, our friends, our partners, this stuff works. You might be looking and listening right now and going, I don't understand how this can even work. But Michael laid out some specific things, including like taking basic feedback that doesn't even maybe tie into what you're building and finding ways to implement it to improve the overall quality for that car ride home conversation. And so if you think about it from that standpoint, take these little details and begin to implement them. Take the pint-sized feedback, try it, right? Then take, an hour and reflect on it and try and implement one thing to improve it and measure it, right? So you saw that 5 to 10% improvement year after year over the time doing this. It helps. So take it, listen to it, share it. If you have any questions on this, email us at info@sketchyideasshow.com. Drop us a message, drop a comment underneath if you're watching this on LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever, and just let us know what you think. Because we are actively taking this feedback left and right. And if you look behind me on the giant whiteboard, Michael and I have been working hard the last couple of weeks to build out a piece of programming for all of you that we'll be putting together for you with some of our partners that help us and help with different components of building a company, especially for those small business owners out there. So if you're a small business owner or you're right around that area, this is for you. We help a lot of you grow, whether it's in doing the growth and the coaching and the accountability, or the marketing and the sales systems, or tying you to somebody who helps you with finance and learning how to do that. And then being able to set goals, take a look at how you're getting there, and then measuring all of those pieces we're focusing on for you. So there might be some sketchy ideas in there. In fact, there will be. But at the end of the day, we're going to make sure that when you leave this program that we're putting together, that you have a plan to move forward and to begin to build and achieve further goals in the future. So with that, thank you for watching Sketchy Ideas Show, and make sure that just because it's a sketchy idea doesn't mean it's not worth exploring. We'll see you next week when we've got even more content for you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.